You've worked hard since you arrived in the city, gained loads of experience, developed your skills. Everywhere you look, you see something you helped build. But now, you're looking to the future, and maybe you're thinking about where you come from. In Ireland, we need planners, carpenters, plumbers, roofers, engineers, architects, site managers, and more. We need you, with all your skills and knowledge, to help us build thousands of homes. You've built the world. Now come back and build the home that built you. For more information, visit gov.ie/Building Ireland. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
This episode is brought to you by Paranormal Playback, a new podcast where hosts Shar, Mel and Laura recap the spooky and entertaining world of paranormal reality TV. Each week they take a fresh look at popular shows like Ghost Adventures and Kindred Spirits, blending humour with insight as they pull apart what's happening on screen. The three of them are a mix of believers and skeptics, which makes for really fun conversations, sometimes leaning into mystery, other times asking the questions viewers might be thinking themselves. With their background in creative production, they know how these shows are put together, so they're great at pointing out the moments that feel real versus the ones that might be more for the cameras. And their segment, This Old Haunt, digs into the true crime side of paranormal investigations, separating fact from fiction. With Halloween coming up, it's the perfect time to add something spooky, funny and a little addictive to your playlist. For even more spooky, ghostly, paranormal content with a humorous spin, go check out Paranormal Playback. Hello listeners and welcome back to another episode of Scary. As always, before we get into our main episode, I need to say a special thank you to our new Patreon subscribers who are Anthony Mann, Catherine Britton, Linda Mays and Zen Annie. Thank you so much for signing up to the show's Patreon, and as always, if this is something you're interested in, you can find the link in this episode's show notes where you can gain access to exclusive scary episodes and ad-free main episodes as well. And don't forget, if you have your own paranormal encounter that you'd like me to narrate on the show, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com and it just might get made into a future episode. But now, let's get into our first paranormal encounter. My first experiences of the supernatural started early in my childhood. I guess I have always been sensitive to things. My grandparents bought a house in Blackrock, which is a suburb of Dublin. They bought it back in the 1960s. The house, it's a 1930s arts and crafts era sort of house. The son of the owner was selling it as his mother had died. She had passed away a few days before she was found. When he was handing it over, he told my grandparents that she had returned to the house and he couldn't live with it. He went on to say that he was moving back to Cork and he hoped that she wouldn't visit him there. My grandparents thought it was a little weird for obvious reasons, but thought nothing more of it. My mum had said there had always been weird stuff happening in the house growing up. She said there would be things like footsteps coming down the stairs at night. And one of the heavy teak doors would open and nobody would be there. she said there was always movement in the house. Mum would have been a young teenager when they moved in, and she was the one to witness a lot of it. The women in my family through the generations are all a bit sensitive. So, in a weird way, I guess they're used to it. I was born in the early 1980s. Mum was still living at home and I was raised there, mostly by my grandparents. I never felt comfortable in my bedroom and mostly ended up in my mum's room. She was a single parent and I guess welcomed the company and cuddles from her young child. Mum worked away a lot, working as a costumier in the film industry. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents who were ill and unable to run around after me. But I busied myself by playing up in my room to entertain myself with my toys or drawings. I always remember feeling there was somebody there with me. The house always felt cold, even though it was centrally heated. It had high ceilings and everything was solid. But it should have been warmer. It always felt a little eerie. I just never felt comfortable in my own room. One evening I was playing in my room and I heard a distinct voice of an old woman with a gravelly voice snapping, "Get out," coming from the air vent in my room, which was up at the ceiling corner. I had one of those 1980s chipboard bunk beds, but the bottom half was a desk and a wardrobe. My head was beside that vent. After hearing that voice, I never slept in my room again. I always made an excuse, and I guess my nana took pity on me because I'd stay in with her most of the time. Perhaps it was a mix of them thinking I was just missing my mum or bored, and my imagination was getting the better of me. The house was so big that often I'd be trying to sleep in a room and I'd get terrors. I'd scream for ages and nobody would hear me. Nana had emphysema and couldn't do the stairs, so the dining room became her bedroom. My granddad remained upstairs, but most nights I'd run to her and she'd just cuddle me until I felt safe. My nana passed away soon after that, and we moved to the other side of the country. A few years later, my granddad died, and my mum put the house on the market. We were paying one last visit to the house to close it up before handing over the keys. I remember staying in the car listening to my music tapes while Mum locked up. It was only when I looked up I saw my grandparents' neighbour staring out the window at me from her bedroom bay window in a fluffy bathrobe, like she'd just had an afternoon nap or something. It was a semi-detached house, so she was pretty close to me in her car on the curb, and it was most definitely her. She just stared at me, not even blinking or looking away. And me being a preteen, I looked at her and gave her a "what the hell are you looking at" face. and she slowly retreated back and turned into her room. When Mum came back, she noticed my hint of an attitude and asked what was wrong. And I told her that Mrs. Lane was at the window staring me out of it. And Mum replied saying, "That's impossible. She died 3 months ago. There's nobody in there. The house is about to be sold." I know what I saw and I knew it was her. Another twist to this tale was that later I found out my bedroom is where Mrs. H, the previous owner of our house, had died. I've seen pictures of our old house now and it hasn't been looked after. My nana kept it beautiful. Trees and rose beds in the front. It was her baby. It's now been turned into a digs or a shared house and it looks kind of run down. And I often wonder if Mrs. H, Mrs. Lane, or maybe now my grandparents come and visit the current renters or owners. Thank you to Sarah who sent in our first paranormal encounter. Every summer of my childhood was spent near Kilkee in County Clare, Ireland. My mother's side of the family was from there, and after my great aunt passed away, her old cottage, which was just outside the village, was kept on for family use. The cottage had 2 bedrooms, whitewashed walls. It was very basic. Occasionally my cousins would come and stay for a week, but more often than not it was just me, mum and dad. The cottage itself, despite its rattling windows and some creaky floorboards, it never felt threatening to me. But there were 2 things that happened there when I was young that I have never been able to explain. The first time was when I was around 8 years old. It was the evening time, and I was sitting at the end of the garden near this stone wall, drawing on the back of this old cereal box. And I noticed this girl standing on the far side of the wall, right next to where our garden met this open field. It was a little girl, maybe a year or 2 younger than me. She was barefoot, and I remember thinking that that was really strange, especially because it was evening time, and for some reason, because she was outside, she wore a white nightdress that looked like something from a black and white photograph, if I'm honest. And her hair was dark, but it was half tied back with this ribbon on one side. The other side looked like it had fallen down. She just stood there looking at me. The only memory I have after that is dropping my pencil that I was using to colour and getting it off the ground, and when I sat back up, she was gone and the field was empty again. There's no neighbours beside the cottage, it's just fields. The closest neighbour is quite a bit away, and I'd never laid eyes on that girl before in the years coming down to the cottage. I do have a memory of telling my mum that evening that there was a little girl, and I just remember Mum kind of brushing it off and saying, "Come on, we need to get ready for bed." About 2 years later, we were back down in the cottage again, and it had been raining non-stop the whole day, and we were pretty much confined to the house. I had been lying on my bed reading a book, and I remember getting up to go up to the living room. And as I left my room, standing in the hallway was the same girl that I had seen a few years prior. She was wearing the same white nightdress, the same ribbon in her hair. She was standing just in front of the living room doorway. She didn't move, she didn't say anything. She was kind of intimidating, and I turned around and went back into my room and kind of went back to my bed because I was a little bit afraid. And I waited there for a moment and then went back out into the hallway, and she was gone. My mum and dad were in the living room watching TV, and I just remember slowly walking up the hallway thinking that maybe we had visitors and they were all in the living room and there was a child there. I made it to the living room, and Mum and Dad were both passed out on the couch, and I woke them up to ask them who was the little girl in the house, and they assured me that there was no little girl in the house, and said I must have been dreaming. I tried to convince them that I was wide awake and that I had saw her in the hallway. This cottage has still stayed within our family, and a June bank holiday a few years ago, I invited 2 friends to come down for a break from the city. We arrived late on a Friday night and got the fire going, had a few drinks. I shared one of the rooms with one of my friends, and my other friend took the back bedroom. Everything was fine, pretty cozy. In the middle of the night, we all woke up to our friend Rachel's screaming. Not just a shout, a proper scream that just snapped us right out of our sleep. So we both got up and burst into the room that Rachel was staying in. She was sitting up in bed, shaking, wide-eyed. And she said, "There was a girl in the room. She was just standing there right by the door." And I asked her what she looked like, and without hesitation, she said she had a white nightdress, no shoes, her hair was half tied up. I had never told that story to my 2 friends before. At that time, it was actually a bit of a distant memory from my childhood that I didn't really think about. It was the exact girl that I had saw years before. And when she described her, all the memories came flooding back. After that weekend, I did some digging, and I found out that my great aunt had a daughter that died when she was really young, and I'm pretty sure that that's who the little girl in the house was. Thank you to Emer for sending in our second paranormal encounter. And I think it goes without saying that both of those stories were equally terrifying. Thank you for listening to this week's episode, and don't forget to hit the follow button so you don't miss any future episodes. And before I finish up this week's episode, I want to say a special thank you to anyone who has wrote a really nice review about the podcast. I know we've gotten a little flurry of reviews in the past few weeks, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and join me next time for another episode of Scary.
You've worked hard since you arrived in the city, gained loads of experience, developed your skills. Everywhere you look, you see something you helped build. But now, you're looking to the future, and maybe you're thinking about where you come from. In Ireland, we need planners, carpenters, plumbers, roofers, engineers, architects, site managers, and more. We need you, with all your skills and knowledge, to help us build thousands of homes. You've built the world. Now come back and build the home that built you. For more information, visit gov.ie/Building Ireland. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
How can I help you today?
Hey, I need to talk about my loan.
No problem.
So I got the email. Sandy Spring Bank is becoming
Atlantic Union Bank. That's right.
And will you still be
Your banker? Of course.
More branches and ATMs?
Way more.
Still community driven?
Still live here, still give here.
Mobile app?
Easy. Everything right at your fingertips.
And what about my business?
Always here to help you reach your goals.
Sandy Spring Bank is becoming Atlantic Union Bank, October 2025. Same bankers you love with even more to offer.
I'm Dr. Sarah Rahal, the founder and CEO of Armra. I developed Armra Colostrum because I know your body was designed to thrive. It's your natural state, your birthright, and you can reclaim it. Colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life, with every essential nutrient our bodies need. It's nature's original blueprint for health. After a devastating health crisis almost took my life, I made it my mission to harness this power. Using proprietary technology, Armra captures over 400 bioactive nutrients in every scoop, delivering over 1,000 benefits that transform your health at its foundation. Whether for gut health, metabolism, skin, hair, immunity, mood, energy, fitness, or recovery, I invite you to join this collective revival of health and discover radical transformation for yourself. Visit armra.com, that's ARMRA.com, and enter code CULTURE30 for 30% off your first subscription order. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Dibrig tú go díon ó chánig tú go dtí an chathair seo, fuair neart taithí agus d'urbar de chud scileanna. I ngacháte éigean tú, fecinn tú rud éige na chabhraigh tú a thógáil, ach inis tá tú ag féchant ar an todhchaí, agus beidir go bhfuil tú ag smaoinemh ar an áit as a dagan tú. In éireann, tastaíonn pleanálathe, siúnéirí, ploméirí, díanadóirí, inaltóirí, altíirí, banistóirí láithreáin agus níos mó uainn. Tastaíonn tú uainn, le do chud scileanna agus taithí go léir, chun cabhrúlinn na mílte tithe a thógáil. Tá an domhan tóga agat, a níos tar arás agus tógan teach a thóg tú. Tuile eolais ag gov.ie/Building Ireland. Teachtareacht ó rialtas na hÉireann.
How can I help you today?
Hey, I need to talk about my loan.
No problem.
So I got the email. Sandy Spring Bank is becoming
Atlantic Union Bank. That's right.
And will you still be
Your banker? Of course.
More branches and ATMs?
Way more.
Still community driven?
Still live here, still give here.
Mobile app?
Easy. Everything right at your fingertips.
And what about my business?
Always here to help you reach your goals.
Sandy Spring Bank is becoming Atlantic Union Bank, October 2025. Same bankers you love with even more to offer.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.